Psych-Minded Media presents Best Psychology in Film with your host, Dr. Catherine Marshall-Woods. Best Psychology in Film is also a book available online where books are sold. Today's featured guest, DeCosta. Welcome to Best Psychology in Film, where we converse with award-winning filmmakers and think together about the psychology within the work. Weldon Irvine is most recognized for his tremendous musical jazz compositions and influence upon hip-hop and rap music being sampled by some of our most favored musical artists. The film Digging for Weldon Irvine, directed by guest Victorious DeCosta, explores Weldon Irvine's history of depression and the impact his mental health had upon his life. Welcome, Mr. Victorious DeCosta. How are you today?
I'm doing well, and I want to applaud your proper pronunciation of Weldon's name because I've heard a lot of different variations. So, thank you, Weldon. Thanks you as well.
Oh, I feel grateful for that, and it's really honored. Yeah. He was such an important figure to what we know as classic and modern music, really. And so I'm wondering what inspired you to want to share with the world his life?
So I like to start off being very honest. I hadn't heard of Weldon Irvine up until I started doing this film. I do have a friend. He's the executive producer. His name is G. Clef Cavastino. He's a jazz player, and he was one of Weldon's mentees. So Weldon called him his last disciple. That's how Weldon talked sometimes. So G. Clef would tell me here and there that I remind him of his friend Weldon Irvine. And I mean, with a name like that, it almost sounds like some sort of like an antidote, something like that. So, you one ear after the other. I wasn't really a fan of jazz music or fusion at that time. And some reason I just looked him up one day. And that reason actually was to sample him. At the time, I was an amateur producer. And when G. Clef told me that Weldon was sampled by a Tribe Called Quest and Mos Def, I said, maybe there's something there, So I looked him up, and I didn't see too much of anything online as far as music is concerned. I went to record stores, and not only could I not find any Weldon Irvine records, but the people at the stores didn't even know who I was talking about. And these are all the old, dusty old, they have everything. They know everything. It's like, who, what? And then I would mention, he wrote for Nina Simone, and then it would perk up. And the different acts that he was associated with would have them perk up. And, I just thought it was kind of sad that this person had a whole life and career, but he was only known for the people who he was associated with. So I looked further, and I didn't find any more music. But what I did find was a website that was run by his friend Carlos Davis, who did a film about Weldon in '76. It was his NYU thesis film, actually, right? So in that film, I learned Weldon's contribution to music, writing over 500 songs. And then I also found out how Weldon chose to leave the earth. He died by suicide. And that just hit me, and so I called my friend and I said, oh man, I didn't even know this happened, and he told me that it happened when it happened, 15 years earlier, but unfortunately I didn't remember. And he told me that I should do a film about it, because at that point I had done I think 3 award-winning short films, and it was a moment that people were taking me seriously now, in my circle as being a filmmaker. And he said I should do a film about it, and I did. I think that what really clinched me was that, I have 5 friends that died the same way, suicide. And, so it's a topic that's very important to me. And also coming from a music background and the music business background and being supportive of different acts, I know how it feels to be forgotten. And Weldon Irvine was 58 years old when he made that choice. And it just struck me, And honestly, I thought it would be a 4-month ordeal. Unwisely, I thought that whatever I saw online was all there was to know about about this person. I didn't know what I was doing. You know, it took 4 years actually. Took 4 years, and so there was. It wasn't an idea that I dreamt up. It was brought to me, and it was just about I can identify with his pain, and I knew people like that, and so that's what cinched the deal. You
Well, I'm so glad that you had the motivation to honor him because he was so prolific and influential to individuals within the music world. And his story of experiencing depression and how he was able to articulate that within the interviews that you highlighted within the film, and how you can see a gradual progression of his early childhood experiences, which were traumatic in many ways, and a family history of depression, and also then his own depression, and how he then actually, it seemed pretty consciously came to the decision to withdraw from the world in which we engage. I'm wondering, when you were creating this film and also thinking of the individuals in your life who have also died by similar ways, if you felt that there was a real need in the film community or just in the community to learn more about suicide with people.
Definitely, it's a mysterious thing. This suicide, especially even if someone does leave a note, you still kind of question it. And in my community, it's a myth, right? It's a myth that Black people don't commit suicide or die by suicide, and Black men certainly don't. you know, um, I have a couple of friends who it's interesting. A family will create the most fantastic scenario to explain this death. Like, oh no, when someone came to the crack in the window and someone, was like, no, he hung himself. You can go see he hung himself. And so I think there was some trepidation. I think people didn't really want to see that part of it. And I was going to start with the ending of the story just to get that out of the way. Um, but I think that once people saw the life and they were able to humanize him, because sometimes people, in terms of suicide, they are dehumanized, right? Religiously, certainly, and also that they're called all these different names, and then it becomes personal. Why didn't you tell me? And so I know I had to deal with that carefully, right? And even in the film, I mean, there are people. It didn't make the cut, but there are people who still don't believe. Some people they believe that there was the extent of might have been mind control at play, right? External mind control. So those who have come to terms that he did pull the trigger, they think that, well, it must have been something controlling his mind, you know. Um, anything to see that this person was in so much pain, and if he's in so much pain, and I looked up to this person, the way I did, and maybe I can be in so much pain, or possibly the thoughts that I may have might be real, because a lot of people do think about it, right? It's not to the extent of others, but a lot of people just think about it, right? And I think that scares people, within itself. And also had to be sensitive about his family because they don't know me. And I just came out of nowhere. It was maybe 13 years after his passing when I started. And how you don't know me, but your father or your brother, this happened and talk to me about it, please, so I can put it on and win shiny awards, right? Got to be very, very sensitive. And I appreciate that after they did interview me, right? His sisters interviewed me, and so did some of his friends. They gave me carte blanche, into his life. And there was only one roadblock, which is I wanted to see the police report, and they're like, "No, that's too much. That's you don't need that." And they were right. But I wanted to tie. I think that I was trying to prove that he did, what they say he did. I was trying to prove it because I didn't want his pain to go unnoticed, right? I didn't want his strength to just be like he was just so strong, and so therefore he would never feel, so weak. So I didn't want to further silence him.
Hear more of this interview at Best Psychology in Film on iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, and where podcasts are hosted. Want to make your film psychologically rich? Visit our website at www.psychmindedmedia.com to collaborate. And find more on Instagram at psychmindedmedia. Created with works by